Hail Kingdom, welcome to Pass of Exile 2. This will be a leveling build for Monk to completely smash campaign from Act 1 straight to Endgame, with everything essential on passive skill tree, essential points when you can upgrade your gear, and all needed skills. And here we are playing Ice Monk, starting straight from Act 1. Well, actually before we start, there's two ways how you can level up your monk, especially in first act. The main problem is loads of cool skills actually unlocked after tier 5 skill gems, and you will get them only after the end of act 1. And if you want easier, more like straightforward experience, you actually want to level up with bow. For example, with lightning rod and lightning arrow. Both of them are tier 1 skills, and you just do pew pew, and then pow pow, and everyone will disappear. Uncut skill gem level 3, you switch to Stormcaller arrow and just use this throughout act 1. The best way to start playing Monk is to actually wait until you unlock Ice Strike and then you start playing like full Ice Monk. It will be like fastest way and easiest options to level. But when I pick Monk, well, I want to play Monk right from the get-go from level 1. And from level 1 skill gems you want to craft Glacial Cascade, Frozen Locus, and of course Contagion. Contagion is just too good as tier 1 skill gems go. Exact order should be something like Contagion, followed by Glacial Cascade, followed by Frozen Locus. You can get all gems in Clearfell. First one you get in Clearfell Encampment, then you get one from Mysterious Campsite, and then one in Mud Burrow. A lot of people actually dislike this skill, but it's actually amazing if you know how to use it. So, Glacial Cascade. The most important part to utilize this skill is to use Final Burst. Wave will deal 73% of attack damage. This means if your quarterstaff do 10 damage, well, this wave will inflict only 7 damage. But Final Burst will inflict 200% of damage. At the same time, it can consume Freeze and deal 250% more damage, as well as 400% more damage to bosses. The problem, we actually can't freeze enemies at this point of the game, that's why this combination is pretty weird, but it will change. So what is the Final Burst? Well, you should look over here. You see? This big spike is actually Final Burst. So that's the Final Burst, and it deals a lot more damage. So to use the skill correctly, you need to utilize distance and try to attack from like long distance to a target and hit him only with Final Spike. So this will multiply your damage. Sometimes enemies will be like faster and they will surround you. That's where our second skill come into play. So it will be Frozen Locus. You can see it creates big rock, and enemies is actually attached to this rock. So when they attach to this rock, guess what will happen? We will attack this rock and everyone will be destroyed. And that's our initial combination for starting the game. Basically Glacial Cascade with Frozen Locus. Frozen Locus gives you ability to jump backwards, so you break the distance. At the same time, this crystal will explode when it's destroyed. It doesn't matter will it be destroyed by you or your enemies, and coolest part, it actually got buffed in 0.4. So right now in 0.3 you can't spam it because basically if enemy destroys this crystal, instantly it will deal like no damage, so you need to be like cautious and place it normally outside of their range. Then you need to allocate and change your position and finish it with big strike. But it completely gone, so as far as I can understand, they kinda fixed how this skill works. It no longer will instantly trigger and blow bosses, but it still will deal pretty good damage. There will be no chilled ground, but it doesn't matter, it's fine. Basically, this explosion is insanely good. It deals big chunk of damage, so jumping backwards, stepping one step and destroying this stupid crystal. Still, sometimes it's overkill and you want to kill packs of monsters without too much effort. That's where Contagion come into play, and you will play Contagion for first like 10 levels or first act. Contagion is placed upon enemies and will deal a little bit of damage, and when enemy dies, Contagion spreads and basically defeats whole pack. So in the beginning, something that we can do is basically place Contagion and attack with our Icy Wave. That's it. And of course we will do this combination on bosses. We basically will try to freeze them, and when enemies is frozen we will instantly blow them up. So that's the combination. There's one more skill you want to use and upgrade throughout the game, and it will be from elemental skills. It will be Frost Bomb. Frost Bomb applies elemental exposure, therefore all your elemental attacks will deal more damage. So you just place it upon enemies, they will be instantly exposed, and then they will be destroyed. Eventually you can get rid of Contagion when you finally get to this setup I got right now. It will be Ice Strike as our main ability, and as you can see we instantly becoming a lot faster, because with Ice Strike you can kinda blink to your targets on close range, but this close range is like half the screen, so pretty cool, pretty fast, pretty interesting, and you will freeze targets more often, so then you can back up and finish them with Ice Strike, like this from range strike. On bosses you still will use this exposure, and of course there's one more skill, and it's none other than Bell. To use Bell you need to have 4 combination, and after getting 4 combination, 4 melee strikes, you will place the Bell and you start hitting it with your basic attacks or Ice Strike attacks. So until we get Ice Strike in our arsenal, we still need to have basic attacks, because sometimes you run out of mana, and basic combination against early game bosses is actually 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks, then you put this bell, and then you can attack it from the distance if you want for massive damage, or you can continue ringing the bell with your basic attack, so that's the Act 1. For support gems on all the skills. So basic idea is to have like better attack speed with your main skills. So on your basic attack you can put something like rapid attacks. I also like to put a rage, since every time we ring a bell, basically we will generate a rage and we'll start doing more and more and more and more damage, and it will basically stick for a few seconds, so we can use range attack with more damage. It's pretty good like support gem combination. For contagion you can use no gems, since gems are pretty rare at this point and you need to be cautious with them, don't waste them on some useless stuff. And on all other skills, basically it's something similar or something simple like elemental ornament. You will see all character snapshots throughout the campaign, so you can follow the build guide basically pretty easily, and they will be in pinned comment. Also you can get them in my Discord, so it's pretty easy to find, as well as loot filter and other stuff. So for the first act, basically again, we're using mostly damage on everything we have. Beside Frost Bomb will be potent exposure with prolonged duration. If it stays for longer, it will apply more and more exposure, and potent exposure will just increase exposure. And other skills, again, it's just rapid attacks, elemental ornament. Beside Tempest Bell. For Tempest Bell, you can go with Overabundance and also with elemental ornament, and later it will be changed, but towards end game. Now, for the gear in this act, there's a few points where you want to get gear, and initially you can find your gear from trader. I got nice shopping list, so basically you just copy paste it over here and it will highlight everything that may be useful for you. It will highlight quality items. If you hate quality items, just remove first part, it's qual and bar basically. Vertical bar that you need to remove, but it will highlight all gear with added life and all weapons with added damage, increased physical damage. It will highlight all boots with increased movement speed, and also it will highlight gear with level to your melee skill. So let's check this quarter stuff. It's exactly what we're looking for: increased physical damage and added lightning damage. Perfect quarter stuff. You may not have this gold because you're doing something wrong. Basically this big campaign guide how to get weapons every time when you need them, so you can watch it on my channel, but here's a tip: basically sell blue items, disenchant yellow items. When you're disenchanting them, you will get regal orbs and you will be able to actually find something cool with high added lightning damage, and then you put regal orb on top and you will get something like this. So you don't care about all mods, all you need is just like added lightning damage, it's perfect. Added elemental damage of other type is also okay, but lightning is the best because you can shock, and shock will increase damage that you deal to enemies by 20%, so it's pretty crazy against bosses. And increased physical is best because it will be converted to your damage with your skill. For armor throughout the campaign, you're looking only for something with maximum life. It doesn't matter how much energy shield you will have. For example, right now we are in kinda end game. Basically we are level 58. I reached maps with this character. It took me around like 7 hours and a little bit with explanations and stuff, so even with this monk you can beat campaign pretty like fast. If you skip first act with a bow, well, you can do it even faster. There's full run also in description, but anyway, so I got pretty okay items to end the campaign. They are pretty good. But we get only 200 energy shield. So don't focus on energy shield, don't focus on evasion. We get just 20% evasion, so like little energy shield. Focusing on life is a lot better. It will give you enough survival to survive one shots and stuff like that. And you can upgrade items at this point. Basically in clear fell encampment, when you start, you can skip everyone, just focus down bosses. First upgrades will be in the red whale, especially from kinda effigies. There's stacks of weapons and there will be guaranteed drop of quarter staff. First upgrade at level 4. So basically when you reach area level 4, you can start looking for upgrade for your quarter staff. And next upgrade will be at level 11 or from bosses from level 9 and onwards. Basically from Tomb of Consort and Mausoleum of Praetor, if they level 9, you will be able to get upgrade. And then when you get upgrade for your quarterstaff, basically you can go and skip for the full act until you reach Act 4. And you will reach Act 4 with just few skills on your passive skill tree, and I like to distribute them like this. Basically when you're playing campaign, you just want to focus on damage, that's it. So we're going through skill speed, attack damage, attack and casting speed. Again, the faster you attack, the more DPS you do, therefore the more damage you inflict, so it's like easy and straightforward stuff. Then we're basically going over here through skill speed. Don't go into critical hit and increase damage, it's kinda a trap. You can go over here, but there is a chance you won't inflict any critical hits for a long duration. Even right now, when I got some critical hit bonus on some of my gear, my Eye Strike got just 10% critical hit chance, like a little bit higher. So investing over here will give us 15% critical hit chance, and it's only in the end game when it will kinda activate from time to time. It's better to just attack faster and also have more mana regeneration. Mana will be like a little bit of a problem. And then we're investing in attack damage over here, and days on hit, it's really nice. And then I like to invest a little bit in this freeze build up and gain extra damage as cold damage. You can do the same stuff over here to get lightning damage, but I like to do it later because freezing enemies is just too good. So that's the idea of the passive skill tree, and you will easily beat Act 1 with ease with the strategies. Now we're going to Act 2. And in Act 2, if you want to completely melt campaign, you want to follow simple strategy. When you arrive to Caravan, that's basically the turning point when you can get upgrade. And there's actually two turning points. One at level 28, and it will be end of Act 2. So at level 28, you're looking for good steel point quarterstaff. This will be pretty nice. Basically looking for something with increased physical damage and pretty good physical damage. And then you hope you rolled at least one good essence with added damage. So you just drop essence that adds magical damage. We got, for example, this flame essence, and if I drop it, it will instantly require you level 36. So you're not supposed to get this essence at this early in the game. So you're looking actually for essence of first tier, lesser essence. And this will create insanely good quarterstaff. If you got some exalted orbs, you can drop them on top, basically go all in, and you may create some really like insanely good weapon, just like that. And technically it's the same stuff you want to do right from the get-go when this act starts, but instead of this quarterstaff, you will look for quarterstaff of level 16, and it will look like this. So it will be, let me see if I can randomly drop it, implicit of lightning damage. So it will instantly come with extra lightning damage inside, and it's just too good. Yeah, looks like it's not possible at the moment, but whatever. You got an idea. Basically, when you arrive to Ket, you already should find some good quarterstaff and go completely all in on it, and you will be just smashing through everything. But when you're getting to Ket, you will see there's loads of enemies surrounding you, and basically that's where we can switch our strategy a little bit. So it will depend on how do you like your frozen local skill. If you like this big rock and you actually enjoying how it's used, you're enjoying the damage, you're enjoying how it works basically, then continue using this. But let's not forget why we're using this frozen locus skill. Again, main idea behind skills is to understand how they work and why we're using it. Frozen locus is pretty simple. You just use it to jump backwards. Yeah, you use it to escape enemies and kinda stop them. And at these levels you actually will unlock new skill. This skill is Wave of Frost. I switched to Wave of Frost, and it's just insanely good to freeze enemies. So at this point I played like this. I freeze enemies with Wave of Frost, they are frozen, they are standing still, and then I use my range attack. It's extremely useful because, again, at this point of the game, well, sometimes you overwhelmed or there's some annoying enemies with range attacks, with crazy attacks. So against these enemies, basically what we're doing, we are running away with Wave of Frost, we're freezing them and destroying them with big blast of glacial cascade. Yeah, and if there's no danger, we're going in with Ice Strike and continue like melting everyone on our screen. For Wave of Frost, we got exactly the similar ideation for support gems. You can use something like Ice Bite for more cold damage. More cold damage you inflict, basically the faster you will freeze, and you will get this cold damage out of freezing enemies with supported skills. Again, you're using this skill to freeze enemies, so it's really nice stuff to accelerate your run. Basically, you freeze enemies with Ice Bite, then you will deal more damage with Glacial Cascade, and so on and so on. Cold Attunement, Elemental Ornament, that's what you're looking for on this skill. And basically you go through Wall Act 2 exactly like this. You just go in straight and destroy everyone with this bell. If it's boss, if there's pack of monsters you need to escape, you do this. And then you arrive into Act 3. Yes, I haven't mentioned our passive skill tree, but you will see it in a snapshot. Basically, we're going forward into this attack damage node, we're going forward into this freeze node, and then more damage. Also, I like to get this node over here that will increase damage against rare and unique enemies, basically against bosses, so it's pretty good. But there's another few nodes that we want to get in this act, and you will need to decide like what you will get. Should you get them based on your playstyle? Basically in this act enemies will become tougher, and also it will be a lot harder to get upgrade for a quarterstaff. So sometimes you won't be lucky, you won't get a really good one. What you can do? Well, actually, if you got good gear with good evasion and energy shield rating, maybe you're lucky and you got some nice gear, we can spec right over here into Hollow Palm technique. With Hollow Palm, you basically invest points over here, just 3 points, and you will be able to attack without your quarterstaff, and you will take skill level as damage, basically, that's it. It's pretty good one, it got nerfed in the recent patch, in 0.4, but it's still insanely good for leveling purposes. I really like the change, and it exactly as it should be. Whenever you can't find good quarterstaff, you can try to respec into Hollow Palm and check, maybe you got better damage over here, and if you do, basically you play Hollow Palm until you will find quarterstaff. Another big keystone is over here, and it's Resonance. As you can see, I got it. The reason is simple. Till this point I haven't touched what buffs we are using, and it's obviously Herald of Ice as the first gem, so you clear enemies a lot faster with your Ice Strike. For Herald of Ice I'm using Concentrated Area and Cold Attunement for just more damage. Actually Elemental Ornament will be better, but I got no strength on my gear, so like I was not able to afford this support gem. And then we get 3 options: Herald of Thunder, Combat Frenzy, and Wind Dancer. Herald of Thunder is optional because to activate it you need some lightning damage, and that's where it became really like interesting and funny. You can use Combat Frenzy, and only a support gem you need is Charge Perfusion, it will work. Combat Frenzy will change how and what charges you get. For example, if you normally freeze enemies while Combat Frenzy is active, you will get Frenzy charges. But with Resonance, they will change to power charges. Therefore, right now, with active Combat Frenzy, I can activate these power charges. I mean, I can just get the power charges. So let me just freeze a bunch of enemies. Here we go. And then we can use power charges to activate our lightning stuff. Now we will deal extra lightning damage on top of our basic attacks. And it basically increasing our damage significantly because it's a lot easier to shock targets right now. It's just insanely good combination of extra damage at this point of the game. So this skill is charged stuff, it needs power charges to be activated, and I'm using Elemental Ornament, Concentrated Area, and Prolonged Duration. So basically I want it to stay longer and deal more elemental damage, that's it. For Tempest Bell at this point I'm using Heavy Swing for more damage and Close Combat for more damage. Heavy Swing is probably tier 4 support gem, so it arrives later, but anyway. Now, are you supposed to run full combination? Well, it's up to you. You can actually skip Herald of Ice, for example, in the beginning, and instead craft Herald of Thunder. If your quarterstaff got some lightning damage inside, or you drop lightning damage runes, well, you will inflict lightning damage to monsters, you will shock them from time to time, and Herald of Thunder will be activated. Another option is to find gear, body armor with extra spirit. This extra spirit will cover you for extra support gem. I mean skill gem, like spirit gem. And you will be able to run full combination in campaign like me. Wind Dancer is also cool stuff. I like to use Magnified Area and Maim to slow enemies down, to slow more enemies down, and to basically run away from them if needed. But it's the last gem, again, mostly because in my experience it's almost impossible to find good evasion in campaign, so it's a lot better to just run stuff that helps us clear monsters faster as melee character. And coolest part, again, you unlock it right over here in Act 3, but there's one more skill, Freezing Mark, that you can actually unlock in Act 2. Freezing Mark will be reworked in 0.4, and instead of just increasing freeze build-up, it will deal some damage, like more damage. It probably will be better, so definitely you can try Freezing Mark instead of Wave of Frost, for example, or instead of Shattering Palm. Again, what is like most important task for Frozen Locus in our build? To freeze enemies. Then we change it to Wave of Frost, to freeze enemies. Then we can change it to Freezing Mark if you don't like Wave of Frost, to freeze enemies. Basically, Wave of Frost is defensive skill, Freezing Mark is offensive skill. But when you reach tier 11 gems, towards the end of Act 3, you can actually create Shattering Palm. And Shattering Palm is what I'm using right now in the end game, in Act 4, in Act 5, in Interlude. I'm using it with Cold Attunement for extra lightning damage, with Freeze for more freeze build-up, and with Ancestral Call, it's late game gem, tier 4, to ancestrally boost the skill, so we attack like multiple creatures in one single turn. And that's aggressive skill, use it only if you can survive, so it's basically charge towards enemies, and in the end game it looks like this: you charge towards enemies, you finish them with basic quarterstaff attacks. When they frozen, you charge your stuff, so you deal more damage with lightning, and that's it. Basically, you're running around and destroying everyone. If you're fighting elite, just dropping Ice Bomb and then dropping your bell, so they're exposed to frozen damage, to ice damage, and that's technically it. So that's the build. It's pretty cool, it's pretty fun. That's how I like to level my monk. Frozen enemies is a lot more interesting to fight versus. One of the reasons is when they slow, you actually can see their attacks, so you can evade attacks, or you can just run away if you wish to, if they're too slow. And I hope you enjoyed this build for monk. Make sure to watch other cool videos on the screen right now if you're looking for other builds or for some tips for upcoming 0.4, and see you in the next videos.